let's just get right into it. All right, so Tom Bauer starts his chapter out by saying, the exclusivity demanded by Oprah Winfrey matched Meghan and Harry's mood for retaliation against the royal family, the media, and the British public. To build up Meghan's profile in America, Oprah Winfrey and Gayle King had an exclusive agreement with Meghan to produce a glowing CBS TV documentary about her first year of marriage. It would be transmitted at peak time soon after the birth of her baby. In exchange, Meghan guaranteed that no other TV network would get access to her or the child. I'm going to just take a quick break there, real quick, you guys. CBS, that's an American network, obviously. So excluded from the introduction of her baby to the British people was the BBC and ITV News. Somebody help me understand how this was allowed by the palace. Like, why wasn't the palace being like, hold up, no you don't. CBS, there's the door, okay? This is England here. And the British broadcasters will have the say. They'll get the story. Gayle King, Oprah, stay on your shore. I mean, I just can't believe they were okay with this. All right, well, they make the deal. And probably it was allowed because nobody knew this was the deal. The strategy, kept tightly secret, was fully supported by Sunshine Sachs, obviously. The tripartite American agreement came under the headline label, privacy. Harry agreed that Buckingham Palace be given no choice. CBS would be given exclusive rights to film the Queen being introduced to baby Archie. The birth and the aftermath would signal the Sussexes' break from the palace. Okay. This is when they start on their whole, we need privacy, we need privacy, we need privacy. And Tom Bauer is going to go on to give us a really lovely definition of their version of privacy. But as we know, and as we've seen many's the time with these people, they are all about taking words we know and redefining them. And that is what authoritarian regimes always do. So of course Meghan, who needs to control constantly and continually, is going to take something out of the authoritarian playbook, take a word, change its meaning, and then be mad at you for not knowing it. In mid-April, Sarah Latham, their new spokesperson, announced that the Sussexes would keep the plans around the arrival of their baby private. Yeah, you can see why they would need to do this. There ain't no baby, okay? Not only would the hospital be kept secret, but even the identity of the godparents would remain undisclosed. Yeah, because who is going to be a godparent to a moon bump? On cue, Oprah Winfrey supported the Sussexes' unprecedented decisions. Meghan, she announced, would start her family in a different way than it's been done for more than 1,000 years. Well, Oprah, yeah, this is different. Most people don't pretend they're having a baby when it's a surrogate that's having the child. You're right. This is a different way to start one's family that isn't traditionally the royal way. Well, as Tom Bauer says, traditionally, royal births are cause for national celebration. And also, the publicity accompanying royal births has always been essential to establish the newborn's legitimacy. Tom Bauer doesn't believe this baby's real. Or that it has anything to do with Meghan having carried it. You know, maybe they did use IVF, but that's against royal protocol. You're not allowed to do IVF. So, because it's got to be from the heir of the throne. How do you prove it when it's all secrecy and it's been made in a petri dish? You don't know. So, Tom Bauer is with us, you guys. He may not be able to speak clearly on it, but he knows some shady business has gone down. Inevitably, the Sussexes' decision reignited controversy. Some were sympathetic to the Sussexes' self-protection from the hazards of fame, but others were perplexed how privacy matched the Sussexes' agenda of modernizing and serving the people. Right? Because it's always privacy when they want it. But what about William and Catherine, who are much more popular than them? The world knows their children's faces. The world was there for the birth. They've never hidden their children from the public. But has there ever been a threat to any of those children's lives? Those three have never been in jeopardy, even though any of us could pick them out of a crowd. We've seen them so often. All right. So if they're okay, what exactly is going on with Meghan and Harry's idea of, like, they've had predecessors who have gone on before. And see, that's why that would be my problem. I'd be like, okay, well, what from William and Catherine's experience has taught you that you should be afraid? Are they always having to guard their children, hide the children's faces, keep them under wraps and covers? You know, so this is just a bunch of baloney about, well, for our privacy's sake. Well, the more popular ones aren't worried about privacy, so what's your problem? It's always, always, always just so they can complain and act like terror and trauma is right around every other corner. Now, this is when Tom Bauer decides to explain to us what privacy meant. He says, few understood the Sussex's definition of privacy. For the couple, privacy did not mean remaining secret and unseen. Rather, it meant enforcing total control over their images and the accompanying narrative. If that strategy upset the palace and tore up the royal rulebook, that was a bonus. So always redefining the terms, these people. And that's exactly what it is. It's privacy means you don't get to say what we don't want you to say. Privacy means I control your speech, right? Privacy means I control your perception of me. Privacy never meant I'm not going to be seen. But privacy is a really lovely thing to hide behind because who's going to... It's really easy to say, I want to protect my child. They didn't ask for this and all this. All right. That's the Hollywood elite love to say that. And to a certain extent, that is, I completely understand why a lot of celebrities say we don't want our kids to have to be thrust into the limelight. But if you get married to a prince whose sole job is to be in front of a camera, whose sole job is to represent the British people, who having children with him will mean that your child's face will then be public. I mean, you don't become a prince and nobody's ever seen you. Again, the legitimacy issue. But for Meghan to come marching in and think that she can have children with this guy and then just, be Hollywood about it and be like, our children's identity is protected. Not when you're a prince, it's not. So why don't you marry somebody else? Meghan's original plan, oh, you guys, okay, hold on, sit down. This is so much trash, I cannot even. Meghan's original plan was to have a home birth, helped by her mother. Okay, you guys, I'm not scoffing at home birth necessarily. I considered it myself with my first. I watched the documentary, Birth Incorporated or whatever that one was. I saw it. I got scared of Pitocin. I remember being like, come hell or high water, I'm having that baby on the living room floor. I'm never going to a hospital. Had all my kids in a hospital. But I'm not poo-pooing the idea. I'm just saying that at 37 years old, you laying on the, in the bathtub with your mom presiding over that ceremony, probably not a great plan. And also, what do we know of Doria's ability to birth children? Is she some kind of midwife? This is the first I've heard of it. Okay, well, Tom Bauer says, look, at 37 years old, there's an element of risk to this plan. But then when the baby was overdue, the plan was ditched. On May 5th, Meghan was driven at speed from Frogmore to Portland Hospital, a private clinic in central London. At 5:26 a.m. on the 6th of March, Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor was born. Okay. This is a very interesting setup here, okay? They didn't let anybody know they were going to the hospital. They give birth to the baby, or somebody does. They receive the baby at this Portland hospital. But the deception begins immediately because while they're over there getting the baby, having the baby, whatever you want to say is going on. Well, that's going on. At 2 p.m., over 8 hours after Archie was born, Buckingham Palace announces that Meghan has gone into labor. So they've got the baby. They've had the baby like 8 hours ago. Then they tell Buckingham Palace, oh, Meghan's in labor. So Buckingham Palace immediately puts that forth. And gleefully, Meghan and Harry, by the time that information is out, are already home. They loved this. They tricked Buckingham Palace on purpose. 20 minutes later, at 2:20 p.m., his birth was announced on the Sussex Instagram site. So then Buckingham Palace is like, oh my gosh, she couldn't have had the baby in 20 minutes if she just went into labor. They tricked us. She's already had the baby like ages ago. Backpedaling, they realize they've been fooled. Buckingham Palace officials caught up a few minutes later with a formal announcement, and they said, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex was safely delivered of a son at 5:26 hours. The baby weighs 7 pounds 3 ounces. The Duke of Sussex was present for the birth. By then, the Sussexes and baby were back in Frogmore. Meghan was in total control. And don't you just know she loved making them look like idiots? She loved having had this baby and being home before they even knew to announce it. And she loves proving that the palace can't control her. She loves screaming. She has used the birth of this child for her own advantage so many times already. And here she is, once again, letting the entire world know. I don't really care that much about the baby, but I want to let you know. Those people over there, buffoons. Torn between Meghan's strategy and sharing his own happiness, Harry could not resist appearing for the media in the early afternoon. Because we know that Harry wanted to get married and have kids for like years. So finally, this has come upon him. However the baby was procured, finally, he has a son to call his own. So he's not in for like hiding around and, leaving messages on Instagram. He wants to come out to the media and let them know. Finally, it's happened for me. He's so dim-witted, he thought the wedding, she loved him, and now he thinks the baby is like all exciting and that it's this, creation of their love. And it's just like, oh, Harry, there's so much you don't understand about your own life. But standing in the Queen's stables at Windsor Castle, the casually dressed prince trilled, "I'm very excited to announce that Meghan and myself had a baby earlier this morning, a very healthy baby. Mother and baby are doing incredibly well. It's been the most amazing experience I could ever possibly imagine. How any woman does what they do is beyond comprehension. I haven't been at many births. This is definitely my first. It was amazing, absolutely incredible, so we just wanted to share that with everybody." Well, congratulations, Harry. I wish it was all real and true and it wasn't cloaked and shrouded in mystery, fog, and daggers. The Sussexes then made through their spokesperson an important announcement. Okay, you guys. See, now I didn't remember this, right? Important announcement indeed, all right? So everybody, if you forgot this part or you were unfamiliar with this part of the story, this just is so dang typical of Meghan. With Harry's agreement, the palace also disclosed that the Sussexes had decided that Archie should not be a prince. Let's not give him a title. No. Their spokesperson, Sarah Latham, also came out and said that they did not want to be bound by convention or history. Meghan wanted her son to be plain Mr. Archie and not bear the title of a royal. They said they wanted to protect his privacy, so they didn't want him to be a prince. Okay, we got two problems here, all right? The first problem is, you don't want a royal title. Oh, you are the one who rejected it. Oh, so when you were whining, complaining to Oprah that no one gave you a title, it's something you agreed to upon hours of his birth. You didn't want it. But more importantly, okay, your son didn't get the title of prince until the Queen died. So your rejection of it, and you're like, oh, no. We want our child to have privacy. We want him to be plain old Mr. Archie. He's not a prince. We want him to know what the real world's actually like. We want him to live like the commoners. Well, that's really easy to not accept when it hasn't been extended to you yet. You don't get it yet. So you actually don't get to reject it. It hasn't been offered. All right, so do you see what's going on here? Either way, she gets to play a card. They try to give it to her. No. Then when they say, oh, your son is not a prince because he can't get that title yet until the Queen passes, they won't give him a title. What the hell is happening here? Is it because of the color of my skin? So it's just like, lady, why don't you just take a rest? You must be so tired from all of this, of trying to manipulate everybody's words no matter what they say, she's going to manipulate it so that she can come off as a victim, plagued, beaten, and assaulted. All right, well, all they care about, and this is what we just want privacy. We just want privacy. We just want privacy. It's all they won't stop talking about it. Now, Tom Bower says that regardless of the title, Meghan had been told that her family would continue to be fully protected by the Metropolitan Police. On Archie's birth certificate, his mother named herself as Rachel Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. But 3 weeks later, the palace lawyers ordered the certificate should be altered to Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. So, regardless of how she feels about titles, they want to make her know, look, your title is still well intact, In fact, we're going to elevate it. You didn't even know what to call yourself. You're actually more important than you even listed on the birth certificate. And we still want to give you protection. I mean, the palace never took title, protection, or try to degrade her in any way. So all of her belly aching to Oprah, they wouldn't give him a title. They took away protection. They degraded me at every turn of the way. None of it happened. Just after the birth, oh y'all, this cracked me. I had recalled this slightly, but it still cracked me up. Just after the birth, Thomas Woodcock, the Garter-at-Arms, called to discuss Archie's title. Her son, explained Woodcock, would automatically inherit the title Lord Dumbarton, since Harry, on marrying Meghan, was made Earl of Dumbarton. Hell no, exclaimed Meghan. No son of mine is going to be called Dumb. I don't really understand the way titles are given. I don't understand how he's a prince and she's a duchess, but then they're also earls and countesses. I don't understand all of that. The fact, though, that she is so lame that they would give her a title. She hears dumb in the full name. It's Dumbarton, not dumb. And she just has this middle school fit. It's like, lady, how are you rushing on to the age of 40? And this is how you go through life. Dumb! No! Hell no! No son of mine's gonna be called dumb. Girl, you just proved he should be. 2 days later, after Archie's birth, CBS Gayle King was in Windsor for his first public appearance. As I stated before, BBC and ITV, no, absolutely bar the door to them. But CBS from the foreign coasts, why don't you come on in and give the royal news? That is timed perfectly so that CBS's Sunday morning show in New York can also catch the footage. This isn't an American announcement. This is not American news. This is outrageous. This is such a slap in the face of all the British people. And you know what? Feel your ways about the palace. What did the people in London and Sussex and all these, what did they ever do to you? How have they insulted you to such an extent that you would not only bar them from knowing when the baby is coming, when all they wanted to do was celebrate you, but then also you say to them, you're not even worth the announcement that is to come. I'm going to make sure that this is aired on American news. To Americans who don't give a crap about a new prince. What do we care? I mean, congratulations on the baby, but it's not our news. What do we care about it? All right. Well, at Gayle's request, Meghan timed the photo call to St. George's Hall in Windsor Castle with the start of CBS Morning News in New York. The photograph released by the palace showed the Queen, Prince Philip, Doria, and the Sussexes staring at a shawl. Bauer didn't believe it. Neither CBS nor a single photographer present were allowed to record Archie's face. Huge weirdness about this baby. Okay, look, y'all, we all saw them come prancing out with her in her sleeveless white dress and him holding the baby, the proud father that he was. The baby's wrapped in a blanket. I mean, it was clearly something was in that. You could see like this much of the child's face. So clearly something was in that blanket, but I'm even willing to wager that it was a well-made doll, because I'm not saying that there isn't a child somewhere, but what I'm saying is that she would have enjoyed the subterfuge and the secrecy and putting this little baby in. And even if she told the Queen and everybody, this isn't actually my baby, but I don't want the public to know. Like, I would even believe that. That child didn't seem to move at all. I don't know. It's weird. It's very weird. And also, the baby's skin color was a little bit tan for how it looks now. And you know babies when they're born are always more pale than they are later on. Even babies born to like much darker skinned people, this baby was a lot more tan than any pictures I've seen of this kid since. This kid's whiter than Harry is. All right, that's an aside. But regardless of the fact that nobody ever saw hide nor hair of the child's actual face, we got like, a quarter of his cheek. Gayle King was delighted because her reward for securing exclusive access to Meghan in Windsor and for the TV documentary to be shown 10 days later was an enhanced annual contract fee estimating to be doubled to $11 million. So she is just raking it in on this association with Meghan. After every precedent was broken, the critics of Meghan were forceful. People despised her for this, as well they should have. As well they should have. She just took a boot to their face and gleefully stomped them. This is ridiculous behavior. The fact that she couldn't deign to walk out of the hospital like Catherine has every single time. The fact that she could not joyfully celebrate the birth of her child. Like, people aren't trying to come after your kid by you coming out on the steps. What do you think? Some madman's going to rush up out of the crowd, snatch the baby out of your arms, dash it to the ground, and run off? Like, what world do you think that you're living in? What has happened to you thus far that would make you believe that the world is full of evildoers that are out to get you, exclusively to get you and your husband? What is happening? All right. Well, devastated by the fact that everyone hated her, she calls her pal George Clooney out to let him be her spokesperson. And I don't know what dirt she has on George Clooney. The fact that he would constantly come out and use his own spokespeople, his own social media platforms, and his own voice to call out the media for abusing Meghan. The fact that he keeps on doing this, it's like, what does Meghan have on George Clooney that he would be willing to constantly put his name in the ring with hers? Well, he comes out and he says, people should be a little kinder. She's a young woman who's just had a baby. Actually, according to the laws of medicine, she's an old woman who just had a baby, but I guess that's neither here nor there. Meghan's own explanation of these arrangements to Oprah Winfrey nearly 2 years later was contradictory. First, she said, we weren't asked to take a picture. That was part of the spin that was really damaging. So her claim is that, yeah, nobody took any pictures of Archie because nobody asked to take a picture. So since they didn't ask, she didn't offer. And now for everybody to come back around and say that she was some kind of a snake for not letting anybody see the baby, I mean, that was just really disingenuous. All right, but then in the same conversation, she admitted to Oprah that she had banned photos. And that was, she said, in protest because the palace had denied Archie a prince's title and was denying him police protection. Both things are not true and can be proven as not true. We have her own spokesperson having come out to say they don't want a prince's title. They want him to be plain Mr. Archie. They want him to live a normal life. They want to be able to hide his identity because they think that he needs this privacy. They denied the title first. And also it had never been offered to them because it wouldn't, by all palace protocols, be available to them until the Queen's death. So whatever wild misunderstanding she seems to be having, and that is gracious of me to say it, is completely one of her own making, because she could have been, somebody would have explained this to her. She is willfully ignorant of this topic. And the thing is that, you guys, she's not willfully ignorant. She's playing this information so that whatever side they take, she can complain and either reject it or cry that it wasn't offered. She's probably the most difficult person I've ever encountered in truth, fiction, in any kind of capacity. She's probably one of the most difficult people I've ever read about. She says, though, that I was very scared of having to offer up our baby, knowing that they weren't going to be kept safe. Both those explanations she ought to have known were untrue. Forgetting her own announcement that Archie would be a private citizen without a title, she would tell Oprah, a child who's not going to be protected and doesn't have a title. How does that make sense? Does she think that our memory is broken? Does she think that she's talking to people who have Alzheimer's? Like, is the entire nation filled with people who have memory disease? What is happening here with her inability to predict that we are going to come fighting back and be like, wait a second, that's not so? She must think that we are colossally ignorant. What does she think that we do all day? Does she think that we're just over here eating sticks of lard and, popping sleeping pills? I mean, what kind of degenerates does she think we are that we wouldn't have the capacity to recall that she's the one who made this announcement? Well, the turmoil continued at Archie's christening in Windsor. Meghan banned the palace's accredited photographer and confirmed that his godparents' name would remain secret. This is super weird. This is just like when she invited no one to her wedding and thought that it was unseemly that anyone should know no one on her family's side was invited. Why doesn't everybody just get off my back already? Because it's weird that no one from your family came, that's why. All right. And this business of no one can take a picture, not even the accredited photographer. Okay. We're not talking about some goons on the street flying up into your child's face. Okay. This is an accredited photographer. She won't let him anywhere near. And to continually be like, the godparents their identities will not be known. How can that be possible? You're at the christening. Aren't the godparents supposed to stand up with you? All right. Well, in explanation, she told Oprah that the same people who have been abusing me want me to serve my child on a silver platter. No, actually, it's not like that at all. This isn't John the Baptist's head that was just offered up to Herod as some kind of tribute. What wild reality is she engaged in that she's actively believing? Okay, just come on. We know she doesn't believe any of the stuff that comes out of her own mouth. But the reality that I'm talking about is the one where she thinks that she is never going to have to pay for the crazy that comes out of her mouth. She knows she's lying. She knows these things aren't true. She has looked at the situation and then picked it apart to figure out where's her wiggle room so that she can turn this into some kind of victimhood story. She knows she's doing that. So I'm not talking about how she's truly deceived in that arena. I'm talking about her deception, that the self-deception that says, keep telling another lie. They'll believe this one. They haven't yet, but this will be the one that really, pulls the wool over their eyes, for the final time. They'll never come out of this one. They'll never see the light after this one. All right, well, among those nevertheless identified as godparents were Mark Dyer, a former equerry, and Tiggy Leg Bork, Harry's trusted nanny, and Charles Van Staubenzee, an old school friend of Harry's.